Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into Colossus, a machine that's the size of a city, but built for one thing: intelligence. This is the story of the world's first true AI gigafactory.
It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But the answer doesn't start with code or silicon. It starts with a physical challenge on a scale that's almost impossible to imagine. We're going to break down exactly what it takes.
So let's just start with a number: 1.2 gigawatts. That's the peak power Colossus is going to draw. Now, to put that into perspective, that's enough juice to power more than 2 million homes. Just try to wrap your head around that. An entire city's worth of electricity, all being funneled into one building, just to fuel the calculations for AI. To really get how a machine like Colossus is even possible, you have to understand this one core idea. You're not just building one thing. You're actually building 4 gigantic, interconnected industrial plants, all at the exact same time. If one of them fails, the whole project just falls apart.
Okay, so let's dive in, because everything, and I mean everything, starts right here with factory number 1, the power plant. The first, and honestly the most brutal challenge, is just finding and taming an absolutely staggering amount of energy. So when X.AI went to Memphis, Tennessee with this grand vision, they slammed right into a brick wall. They needed at least 1,000 megawatts of power. The city looked at them and said, "We can spare maybe 50. For any normal project, that would have been the end of it. Project dead. But their solution was, well, it was completely insane. They couldn't find a power plant big enough, so they decided to just build their own. They literally bought the pieces of an old, shut-down power plant in Europe, shipped the massive turbines across the Atlantic Ocean, and then put it all back together again on site. They essentially brought a power station back from the dead. And this is where it gets really clever. See, it's not just about having enough power, it's about having perfect power. The GPUs inside are so sensitive that the tiniest little flicker from the grid can crash a training run, wasting millions of dollars. So to solve this, they use these giant Tesla batteries as a kind of shock absorber for the electricity, smoothing it out into a perfectly clean, stable flow. Okay, so let's keep building here. We've got our power, but all of that power creates a huge invisible enemy: heat. And this is where we need factory number 2, the waterworks. The physics here are pretty brutal. A 1 gigawatt computer creates 1 gigawatt of waste heat. It's like taking the entire fiery output of an industrial power plant and trapping it inside a single building. If you don't get that heat out fast, the entire machine will literally melt itself into a puddle. And yeah, the traditional way to fight that heat is with water. A lot of water. This has become this huge environmental problem, right? You've got these massive data centers sucking up drinking water, competing with farms and cities, especially in places that are already struggling with droughts. And once again, the X.AI solution was just extreme. Instead of tapping into the local drinking water, they built their own high-tech water factory. It actually takes in dirty wastewater from the city, recycles it, and then uses that super purified water for cooling. It's an incredible move that actually turns a huge environmental negative into a net positive for the whole community. All right, so we've got stable power, we've got cooling. Now we need to connect the hundreds of thousands of individual computer brains inside this thing. So welcome to factory number 3, the network fabric. The network fabric is basically the supercomputer's nervous system. It's the magic that turns a warehouse full of individual chips into a single, cohesive intelligence. And it has to be lightning fast, because when you're training a huge AI model, all those GPUs need to talk to each other constantly, in perfect sync, like they're all part of one giant brain. And the speeds we're talking about are just mind-bending. I mean, look at this. Your home internet connection, which probably feels pretty fast, is maybe 1 gigabit per second. A single server inside Colossus pushes data at 3,600 times that speed. It is an absolute fire hose of information. And that, all of that, the custom power plant, the water factory, the insane network, it all leads us here to the heart of the machine, the whole reason for this entire project. Factory number 4, the compute engine itself. Now check this out. This quote from the CEO of NVIDIA, the company that actually makes the chips, it says everything. A project this big would normally take years of planning and construction. The team at X.AI got 100,000 of these GPUs racked, stacked, wired up, and actually training an AI model in just 19 days. 19. The industry had just never seen anything that fast. And this timeline just puts that ridiculous speed into perspective. They went from an empty, abandoned building to one of the most powerful supercomputers on Earth in 122 days. And then they built the next, even bigger phase in just 6 months. The pace is absolutely staggering, and it's totally rewriting the rules for how you build these things. And this is the symphony of silicon that makes it all work. You've got the NVIDIA GPUs, right? Those are the powerful engines doing all the heavy AI lifting. Then you have CPUs from AMD and Intel acting like orchestra conductors, making sure everything runs smoothly. And you've got all this ultra-fast memory and networking to keep the whole thing fed, all pulling from petabytes. That's millions of gigabytes of data.
So now let's zoom out for a second, because Colossus isn't just some one-off amazing project. What it represents is the dawn of a new industrial revolution. This is the starting gun for what is quickly becoming a global arms race for compute power.
And you better believe the competition is already raising the stakes. Microsoft's project, called Stargate, which they're building with OpenAI, is targeting an energy footprint that could reach a mind-boggling 10 gigawatts. These aren't just bigger data centers. This isn't a trend. It's an industrial explosion.
The truth is, we are watching, in real time, the construction of an entirely new industrial layer on our planet. You know, just like the first industrial revolution was built on coal and steel, this new one is being built on energy and silicon. This race for AI supremacy has now become a fundamental race for the resources that power our entire world.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe a little unsettling question that projects like Colossus are forcing us all to ask. As we build these incredible machines that consume the power of entire cities, we're eventually going to have to decide who gets that energy, people or the intelligence we're creating.